What's going on, guys? Waco from Revolution here in La Reserve at the Villa for Bovet. See the Bovet there, and you can see the lake out there. Very tranquil. On my wrist is their latest watch. That is a Recital 30. So that takes the roller system for world time, but actually corrects for daylight savings time in the most intuitive and easy to use way. I'm going to show you how it works later. That takes that from the Prowess one that was launched last year and won the Mechanical Excellence or Exceptional Prize at the GPHG last year. But follow me, we're going to go say hi to Pascal Raffy, who is the owner of Bovet. As you know, I was on the jury of the GPHG last year, and I remember when we were looking at Prowess 1, everyone was like, this watch is amazing. Because, you have it here, so that watch there. So the extraordinary thing about this is there's so many world time watches, and pretty much none of them compensate for daylight savings time. Or if they do it in a way where you just have a little mark just next to it to explain to you when you're supposed to select or read it off of there instead. Now, what I find exceptional about what you do is you combine innovation, complication, and in some ways a really beautifully expressive way of telling time that becomes quite effortless and really just a great emotional experience. So when we were looking at that, we're like, okay, this watch is incredible. You know, it has, aside from this, obviously a perpetual calendar and a tourbillon, and it's extraordinarily engraved. It has 10 days of power reserve. But we couldn't help but like looking at this roller system for the 24 zones, and you're able to compensate for UTC, American Daylight Savings Time, European and American Daylight Savings Time, and European Daylight Savings Time, exactly. And we actually did say to ourselves, I wonder if he would ever consider to just make that part of the watch. And you did, which is incredible. So tell me a little bit about that journey.
I have to tell you, as you know, since years and years now in the courtyard of the castle, the inspiration of nature, birds, flavors, colors, have always been really my engine. And by the same time, it's absolutely related to the house of Bovet. When Monsieur Edouard Bovet from Fleurier goes to London and then to London in the 19th century, let's imagine. He has always been open to different cultures and to pay due respect to different cultures. So the notion of traveling has always been in the essence of the house. When after the shooting star, the Asterium, the two brainstorm, and the Grand Recital, I said to myself, after these 5 fingers of the first hand, let's try to express the civil time.
Right.
And the pandemic has been a great inspiration, by the way, knowing that we all entered in doing our Zooms, our Teams. I got confused a lot of times on the time zones, and I promised myself, saying, Pascal, with your great engineers, your great watchmakers, all the artisans, let's try to express and to solve the daylight saving time issue. If one day we are going to cancel winter or summertime and the daylight saving time problem, no problem, the timepieces will remain witnesses of more than 200 years of humankind's history.
Sure.
And then developing engineering, tuning, decorating the Prowess one, I said, very well, but a gentleman who has savoir-vivre is not going to wear a Prowess one every day or to go and play golf. But the feature, as you were saying, is absolutely meaningful. I use it every day, and I would love to have it as a middle complication. So we started thinking, considering, and we decided to have it on an automatic movement of 62 hours. But then we wanted also to have a design of the case which is really surprising in the house of Bovet, but in real continuity to what the Dimier case is. For the ease of the collector, I wanted these two pushers, and not correctors, pushers to make it easy and friendly on the wrist. But when looking from the crown side, we discovered that this is a great shape for a chronograph. So perhaps you already have for 2027, 2028, that shape. And that mixture between the 26 rollers, the guilloche die in the center, because the house of Bovet always must defend its decorative arts, nearby its innovations, and the day and night disc, not printed, with true appliques. The touch of the ivory external dial is done on purpose also to give that touch of vintage, which is very harmonious and elegant. And we have several versions. On my wrist, I decided to have a baby blue strap.
I love that strap.
This is for the sky, and then the triangle is here in yellow for the sun. And when you manipulate the timepiece itself, it is so easy to really tune it. So high complication, simple to use, here you are serving your collector. And this is the essence of the house.
Well, I love the fact that you really thought about the user process and like the relationship someone develops with a timepiece like this. And you know, it looks at first like very intimidating, but then as you start to use it, you're like, oh, it's so intuitive. I get it exactly. You know, I was think you're a very intelligent team, because when I looked at it at first, I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to touch it. And then I realized actually, you know, it's effortless to use and it's effortless to read as well. Also, another thing I loved about it is wearability, right? So looking at it on your wrist, it fits perfectly. I love the fact that you've done it in grade 5 titanium, which incidentally, bravo on the level of polishing and finish you have on this with this lovely dome sapphire. It wears like a really effortless watch. And you were saying that you can even use it a little bit during sports, is that correct?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely, and then there's another thing. When we arrived to tune the first movements, the first calibers, came to my mind another idea. I said, but Pascal, let us suppose now that we are living in India. What happens then?
Yes.
And I said to myself, we always defended that art is universal, all cultures are respectable. Let's turn the movement by half an hour and the central discs are 24 hours. And we came out with this baby, which is the Indian version. Why? Because the 24 cylinders are at equidistance. In between two cylinders, you're going to have the half hour, very naturally. So the main two hands express Indian time. The extension of the minute hands, I said to myself, but this is 180 degrees, meaning half an hour. And intuitively, you have the version if you are an Indian gentleman living in India.
That's extraordinary. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of other watches that are being unveiled this period during Watches and Wonders. One of them has an extraordinary, like hand-decorated motif on the dial, Brie de Verre.
Oh, the story of the Miss Audrey, of course. I have 3 children, thanks to my lady, Audrey, Alexandra, Amadeo. The Amadeo system is, because the inspiration of the Amadeo system has been my son, Amadeo. And for the Miss Audrey, when Audrey was studying in Northwestern Bristol Law School in Chicago, we were talking together 2-3 times per week, and every time I was ending the call saying, sweetheart, let's talk in 1 or 2 days. So the shape of the hands forming a heart already is for the heart. Sweet came with the sugar dials, which are unbelievable. And the Brie de Verre is because, again, with that shape of case, which is so unique, which is a pocket timepiece related to centuries of watchmaking history, I wanted to add, again, another touch of pure artistry. Coraline, with her 2 colleagues at the facility, hand engraved in Brie de Verre the main dial. And then you come and you're going to adjust sapphires cut in piers, and it becomes an exquisite, elegant, nice timepiece that you can wear on your wrist, also as a necklace.
You know, it's extraordinary. It seems that the current generation of watch buyers are even more enchanted with métier d'art than ever. You know, and you have been a massive proponent of this from the moment that you took over Bovet, miniature painting. I think you probably have the greatest ability in miniature painting today. I know a lot of your timepieces are custom pieces as well, made as pièces uniques, and people have the capacity to have a stunning piece of art or even a portrait of someone dear to them on the dial of their watch. Enameling, reverse engraving, all of these things, and now also decoration using really innovative techniques like Brie de Verre. Why do you think this resonates with the audience of today more than ever?
I think, Wei, I always thought, since decades and decades, I'm 61, that fashion is ephemeral, but tradition always lasts. Tradition doesn't mean old-fashioned. Tradition means we need to defend from where we come to better build the future. Between 2001 and 2004-05, if you remember, I was said the old-fashioned guy of watchmaking because I was so much stubborn to defend the singularity of this house. It's based on 200 years of real patrimony, all the contribution to Swiss beautiful watchmaking words. And then the new generation, the young generation, you cannot imagine how they are proud to discover, to get absolutely surprised how complicated it is even to hand engrave initials. So when you let them dive into the facility, share, interact with the artisans, they then understand how important it is to preserve patrimony. And you can also have it in modern timepieces. You don't need to have that expression of art, education, culture in modern expression of cases or movements. You have it in classical and also in modern. And the generation is keen to learn with Fanet. We have received a few months ago a fantastic team of students of École Hôtelière de Lausanne. If you saw their eyes, the surprise to discover that still today it is possible to bespoke, to hand engrave, to miniature paint through microscope, and you see these smiles, you understand from far that you did well to defend the patrimony of the house, and at the end, to contribute to true education at the level of watchmaking.
That's fantastic. You know, part of engaging the next generation is also to create timepieces that are accessible to them. Mm-hmm. And you have created some very beautiful timepieces that bring great mechanical value at a more accessible range, for example. Talk to me a little bit about the 1930, for example, and what this represents to you.
The 1930 has, again, the iconic shape of the bow, so the pocket timepiece, with a fantastic movement of 7 days per reserve, 100% made in-house. You rewind this baby in less than a minute. We patented the differential to rewind it. And last year, I said to the teams, you know, in June 2025, it will be exactly 10 years. Could you please help me and imagine by yourself which 1930 you would like to have on your wrist? Yes, indeed, I defend my guilloche dies, by all the other techniques of the decorating dials, and they came up with that light, beautiful, colors included. And you look at this, you say, thank you so much, with great pleasure, let's do it. And the answer this week has been great. Colors, it depends on the partners, on the tastes,
right.
But the idea has been very well welcomed.
I also love this movement when it's used in this beautiful titanium case with integrated bracelet in titanium as well, with now ornamental stones, tiger eye and malachite. That's very beautiful. Tell me about those.
Oh, it has been a lot of emotion. You know, in malachite, you know very well, Wei, it will depend until the last moment how these dials are going to talk. And have you see the nerves, how it is? They look like paintings. And the contrast between the malachite, the eye of tiger, that sweetness of this color, with the titanium, and then you look and you dive into the finishings of the movements with a different gray, of course, because the raw material is not the same. It's elegant, beautifully seated, and it forms also on the design. I wanted the V of Bovet, and then when you close your bracelet, it's the line of infinity.
That's awesome. I have to say, the architecture of that movement is really pleasing to the eye. I love how you have this like horizontal gear train that flows across. You've got the entire gear train and then also the balance there as well. So the symmetry is really lovely. Perhaps lastly, I can talk to you about the Virtuoso 5. That's a very impressive timepiece as well. Tell us about that.
It's interesting. The Virtuoso 5, as the Virtuoso 7, by the way, the perpetual calendar that you know with the reverse unfitting, the Virtuoso 5 is now one of the iconic timepieces of our collection. And you know that you can fix it with the GMT on the other side. This year we wanted to have an expression of sobriety, a beautiful brush dial. And that tonality, is it in titanium, in white gold, or in red gold? These colors match beautifully together. And that jumping arrow is a great movement.
Yes.
So again, very proud for our collectors. They can have from one side an open work movement, and on the other side a full dial where you express, like the salmon dies, you remember, with that beautiful salmon, so exquisite. And with this proposal this year, we will handcraft very few timepieces, and again, they have been very appreciated this week.
You know, I have to say the white material, is it titanium, I believe? The monochrome effect of this timepiece is really remarkable because it simultaneously feels something that's historic but also really contemporary, you know? And I think that when a design language is powerful, it just continues to be relevant, you know, for perpetuity.
And this is also the big luxury we have, you know, at the facility in Dimier. We do our movements, our escapement, our hairsprings, our dials, our complicated hands, and also our cases now, because the Recital 30 is the first ever case that we did absolutely in the facility with Jacques, Stéphane, Florent, and all the artisans.
Amazing. And I guess the very last question I should ask you is, I happen to notice that Audrey is here with us at the Villa. What is the the pleasure that you get from working side by side with your daughter?
I have to tell you, it has been my honor. I'm very proud. I was just saying to Jamel, life is a journey. You need to let time to time. That real luxury. I think we are arriving, thanks to Audrey, her talent, her noblesse, her dignity, the way to be nearby all the teams, and her added value has been absolutely significant this year. It is only 3 years that we are together, and it's only the beginning of defending what makes this house. We don't have employees, we have an extended family, we defend art, we defend engineering, brilliance, but we want to do it in savoir-vivre, with education and beautiful people around us, and we are very lucky for this.
You know, you were also a pioneer in that you were the very first among the major maisons to put the artisan on the stage, and you would say, this is the engraver, this is our miniature painter, and I think that the way you humanize that is so important.
We all realize we need 2 hands to applaud, or we need to be 2 to dance tango.
Exactly. Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
As always, you're an inspiration, and I love this watch. It's
Thank
truly
you very
spectacular.
Thanks for the artisans.
My pleasure.
They gave the maximum.
Yes. Cheers. Thank you.